After 24 hours of travel and about 17 hours on a plane, we made it to Beijing, China. There's my wife, Mainland Lee. In China, they typically keep their maiden name, so she goes by Mainland Lee. This is right outside her condo at the park. It's at night when I first got there the second time I arrived. It's looking to one direction, and that's the alley going up to her condo. And if you go the other direction, you will come up to a street. And this is at night. We was probably going out to get something to eat after I arrived. It's a typical street at night. And here we are. The other direction is the guard house over the old wall that they preserved. That was the gate to let people into the city. Beijing is a tourist town, and it's 4 lakes, 2 rivers, and they have tour boats on the lakes and the rivers. So these are the tour boats going up and down the lakes that you can take. And there's a lady on one of the islands playing the violin or something or other and singing. So they got all kinds of different types of entertainment going on. This is one of the cities that President Ford visited when he went to China to open it up. This is the school my wife worked at and retired from. This is the end of the day, probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The children are leaving for the day. Either one of their parents or one of their tutors is going to pick them up. Generally, they go home, they do their homework, and they have a tutor, and they work until about 9 p.m. One of their parents will pick them up, and then they go home from wherever they're getting their tutoring done, and that's the end of their day. This is the library at the school. It's an elementary school. Everything's low to the ground, and that's normal even for big people or adults. All the chairs are low to the ground. Here's some wedding pictures. The second time I visited China, we had our wedding pictures taken. Didn't have time the first time, because I went there for like 5 days, 7 days. Time we traveled to get there and time to get back, the time was gone. So we had our wedding pictures. That wasn't my idea. It was the wife. There's traditional Chinese garb. It was hot, difficult to put on. Needed a lot of help to do that. So we go through these. I don't think she bought any of these, but we got them. I saved them. So I put them in the video to preserve them for time. So we go through wedding pictures. And I'm trying to give you a feel for what Beijing is all about and what the city is like. But this is our wedding stuff. I had extra large Chinese tux on. You can see it's a little tight on me. I shouldn't put that out. This is her condo, her place. That's the main living room. You enter, there's a little porch where she hangs her laundry and stores stuff. The air conditioning and heating is by room. You go in. The hallway straight down there is to the kitchen. You turn to the right. You've got a dining room. That's the stairwell for the public stairwell going up to the top 5. There's 4 floors above her. She's on the first floor, and there's a total of 5 floors. That's her bedroom, or our bedroom, and then it's 2 bedrooms. One of her sons got a bedroom. That's the bathroom. The hole in the floor is the commode, and the shower. I call it a wet room. There's the laundry, washing machine, and on the wall there is the heater for the hot water. They only have 1 water pipe coming in to the house, and you cannot drink the water. That's the refrigerator on the right, and then straight ahead is the stove. It's a 2-burner propane stove. There's not much to their kitchens, and a lot of people have their stove on the outside of the house. They open up a window and they cook outside, and they close the window so that it doesn't get hot, because they don't air conditioning the whole apartment or the whole home. They only air condition certain rooms, and this place is like Florida, and it gets hot down there, and it's humid. This is the park where she lives. Behind us is a little bridge. These are still pictures. That's the walkway, the park you saw at night. This is during the day. And I got some more walkway at night where we're walking through the park where it's all lit up. We went out for a walk, and we stopped for tea around noontime, and we ended up staying at the same restaurant, the same table for dinner, and the whole family came. This is her older brother, his wife, his daughter, and his grandson, with my wife's. This is my wife's older sister and her daughter, Jean, and she's staying with us in the United States now in 2025. This is 2014. This is the wife's older son, his divorced wife, and her grandson. And me making a funny face. This is our wedding dinner with all of her friends. We had duck, chicken, pork, that's chicken, fish. That was probably pork. Had shrimp and oysters, and that's the restaurant. Pretty big restaurant. We had like 3 or 4 tables, all her friends, but the whole restaurant was busy. So it's a big restaurant. They serve a lot of people, and they keep you right on going. No big deal. And the cost per person was around $10 a person. It wasn't all that expensive. And look at all the dishes we got. This is the park right outside where she lives. It's at night. We're walking back after we ate. And there's a lake right there. And across that lake was the hotel where President Ford stayed when he stayed in this city. And it's like a 4-star hotel. I never went there. I went by there, but I never went in. I tried to use all the best videos I had, and I tried to do my stabilizing in my software. If you're doing video editing and you're not using DaVinci Resolve, which is a free editing software, you should pick it up and get it. It's probably the best you can get for the price. It's free. I should have cut that out. But the lights stay on till around midnight or 1 a.m. and then they turn off the lights, but it's still plenty light enough. That bright light is about where the hotel is. It's where you can see the walkway, and it's low crime there, or no crime. They don't have guns, remember, but they do have knives. And a gazebo right outside. You go the other directions where the guardhouse was over the wall. They preserved that, where the gate was. That's all preserved. And parts of the wall that went around the city 1,000 years ago, it's still around the city. In different parts, you still see it. So no big deal. This is when I went there probably in 2014. This is off my iPhone on the top of the hotel we stayed in. We stayed at a hotel. It was like $14 a night. 2 blocks away is the Sheraton. It was like $130 a night, but we stay here. It's just as nice. I'm on the 8th floor. This is looking, I think, to the east. That's to the south. That's Grayling all the way through the mountains. That's the street right below us. There's the alleyway we have to walk to get into the hotel right there, as you can see. Little convenience store on the corner. There's a hotel on the right side on the corner. It's a park where all those trees are. That's a park, and there's a zoo in there also. You can't really see it, but there's a zoo. You have to pay extra to get in the zoo. Foreigners have to pay to get in the park. Foreigners mean anybody not from Grayling has to pay a fee to get into that park. It's nice. That's Grayling, those buildings in the distance. And we head here, look up for the east. We're looking off to the east. Most of the buildings are 5 stories, where I'm on the 8th floor roof, or I moved up to the 9th floor roof of the hotel. And the hotel also includes washing machines and you hang your clothes up to dry outside and the air dry, no big deal, no extra fee, and you get bottled water for no extra fee for your $12 a night. There's mountains all around. There are limestone mountains all around the city. So let's get you a good feel of what Guilin is like. It's a small town. Last time I checked, it was about 4.8 million people. It's considered a small city because it does not have a subway. If it had a subway, it would probably be considered a big city and it would probably have 20 million people. So anything under 5 million is a small city. 8 to 9 million is a medium-sized city. Anything over 15 million is a large city in China. So we scan around. As you can see, there's mountains everywhere. Most of the buildings that people live in are about 5 stories, no elevators. The hotel I was in had elevators. It's not foggy, it's not polluted. That's this overcast, cloudy day. It rained. It was there October of 2024, and it rained about every day. In fact, it rained about 3 days in a row. And then, oddly enough, it was like 80, 90 degrees, and it wasn't all that humid. I couldn't figure it out. Why wasn't it humid? It rained every day. It was 90 plus degrees, and it wasn't humid. I don't know why. Maybe it was because the rain was clearing it, but it was a little overcast. So that's what Guilin is all about. It's a small city. It's a park in the middle of the city where the wife used to live. She sold it a long time ago. Now we stay in a hotel when we go there to visit friends and relatives. And we finally made it to Beijing, and the wife had to make a few phone calls, and we got a hotel right down in the center of town, a few blocks away from the Forbidden City and a few blocks away from Tiananmen Square. Here it's later on, we ate dinner, got dark out. We walked down to Tiananmen Square. We couldn't go in, but this is the main gate. It's like 75 degrees out. The wife thinks it's cold out because we came from Guilin where it was like 95 degrees. We flew up earlier in the day and it rained there. And a cold front moved through, so it was nice and cool and clear for a few days. That's the hotel in the distance there. And they park right there on the street. That's the next day. We went to Ming Dynasty tomb, one of the tombs that they have restored. There is a bunch of tombs there, but they don't restore all of them, but just the one, the main. There's a whole bunch of buildings leading up to the main tomb that they've restored. I did a pretty good video there on the building, the diagram there of all the different emperors and all where their tombs located, and this for the Ming Dynasty. The tomb's underneath the mountain, and then you got the wall around it to protect it, and then you got all these buildings. I don't know if those were guard houses or what the deal was. That's the only footage I could find that's good enough to save. This is the 10-meter moat that goes around the Forbidden City. And that's the 10-meter high wall that goes around the Forbidden City. This is about a 2 or 3 block walk from the hotel we were staying in. And this is the middle of Beijing. And they were doing renovations. That was the main entry gate right there with the guardhouse on top, which is where the archers would stay. It's about 3 stories tall. And they could shoot out from windows up there. The Forbidden City is in 3 sections or thirds. The first third, I'm not sure what the purpose of it, but that's the main gate right there. In the center where the tour guide is walking was allowed for the emperor to walk. or his people carrying him on his chair would walk. Everybody else would be off to the side. And as you come up, the first house or gate there would be the first entryway. What they use this for, I'm not sure. Probably a staging area where they would check people, maybe see if they were allowed in or not. But this pretty big area. As you go through this area, you come up to the second third. To the left or the right side was the civil servants would be on that side, the non-military people. And to the left of where you were standing would be the military side, where all the military people would be. What was in those buildings, I think, were offices for them, or even maybe where the military people were housed and civil people were housed when they were staying there, the important people. As you go through this first gate here, which I think that's all it was, you go into the second courtyard, which is probably a little bit bigger. We'll see what's happening here. The dragons on the buildings indicating the importance of the person who is in the building. The emperor had, I believe it was 13 dragons, meant that was a building the emperor would be in. A less important person, say 10 dragons, would be a high official, but not the emperor. Here's the second courtyard, much bigger as you can see. And that to the left there is the military offices and buildings, and that is to that side is the civil or non-military office and buildings. I'm not sure if they stayed there or not, or if they were only there during the day. I'm not sure. If they did, they were in the front two-thirds of the Forbidden City, but they had to be very important people to be there. When you come up to this one, I believe this is where the emperor's throne was, or is. We'll see. Yep. That's where the emperor would sit, and it was pretty big because all his advisors would be standing around him, and there'd be a lot of them up there, so it's pretty big, a lot of room for people to stand, and there's a lot of room around it where people would gather and they would conduct their business right there. This is like 1,000 years old. Those pillars are made out of trees that were like 600 years old when they cut them down, and that was well over 1,000 years ago. As you go around that building, the next building was where the emperor's bedroom was. There's his bed. I don't know how they kept it warm because I didn't see any fireplaces. There's one big open room. And there's buildings down along both sides where probably servants and everybody else would stay. The emperor's first wife, his wife that he married, the very first one, was in charge of all the other wives in the back third of the Forbidden City. Once a year, everybody would bring their they would train these girls, would train their whole lives to be presented to the emperor in hopes of being chosen to be in the Forbidden City, would consider a very good life. If they were chosen, they would stay in the Forbidden City, and of course they would have to pleasure the emperor, or he would give them to a high-ranking official to take care of it, which was considered a very good life for that individual. A lot of them lived there and had a very non-sexual life, is what I was told. Some of them, all of them, some of the emperors had children from very many of these women. Some of them didn't. Depends on the emperor and the time period, I believe. Of course, the oldest first son was the successor to the emperor for the next reign. The Ming Dynasty lasted about 300 years. All these dynasties lasted somewhere around 300 years before the next dynasty started. This is the back third of the Forbidden City. It's the only place where there's a garden, courtyard, and trees. And this is where all the concubines and wives would live and stay. The emperor would remove any official things that he would have. He'd just wear his robes, nothing official, and he would walk back there and he would walk with one of the ladies that he was entertaining for the day and maybe entertaining for the night. And this is where he would do it. Of course, he would have servants would be staying in that area to make food and take care of everything. I'm not sure what all the women did. They probably did housework and stuff like that. I have no idea. But I'm sure they did more than just sit around and look beautiful all day and take care of themselves. I'm sure they had duties also. But I don't know. But this is the back third of the Forbidden City. It's front third, kind of like the where you get accepted to come in. The middle third is kind of like the parade area where you approach the emperor. Then behind that was his bedroom, and then the back third is all the wives. You had a 10-meter wall all around, and you had guards every 10 meters. And the guards are all, I say, castrated, or so they could not impregnate anybody. The only person who could make anybody pregnant in the whole Forbidden City was the emperor. So there was no doubt who the children belonged to. I don't know if that was a problem in the past. So that was like a four dragon building. This is the entryway to the Temple of the Gods, which is in Beijing, a short distance from the Forbidden Cities, it was a short bus ride. But this is where the emperor would go in the springtime to pray. Him and the priest would pray for a good harvest and rain and everything to make a good harvest for the people. And they would, in the olden days, make sacrifices, I believe goats and whatever. I'm not sure if they made human sacrifices 1,000 years ago or whatever. I don't know what they did. They wouldn't say, because I don't think anybody knows for sure, because that's part of the history that they're suppressing. Here we are with a tour group at the Great Wall in the gondola going up to the Great Wall from the bottom. Took a bus to get there from Beijing. I believe this was north of the city, quite a ways. It was a couple-hour bus ride. It's a mountainous area. The wall goes on the top of the mountain ridge. And later on, those are guard posts. You can see how steep it is. My goal was to make it from where we got onto the wall up to one of those guard towers, which didn't look like it was that far, but it was really steep, and I made it about a third of the way, and I got winded. Of course, I wasn't in the best shape of my life, but that's beside the point. Made it a third of the way, decided to stop. The wife, I don't think even she made it that far. Got some good video pictures looking around. You'll see how steep it is. I looked down over the side. I don't know how anybody would even try to invade going over those mountains. It would have been quite the hike to get over there. There's the gondolas that you come up on, go down on. You can see how steep it is going down. Quite busy that day, quite clear day also, because it rained a day or two before. And that's where you come in. And that's where we came from. Down below is the city where the buses came. Clear day for Beijing. That's looking back up at the wall where we got off the gondola, looking up. And we made our way back down. And from the Great Wall, we took the bus back into the city, and we stopped at, I believe it was a jade place where they carved jade and etc. north of Beijing. We went there on another day. So when you go to Beijing, you have quite a few things to see, and it's all related to the emperor. You got the Forbidden City, you got Tiananmen Square, you got the Temple of the Gods, and you got the Summer Palace. I'm sure you got some other places to see, but this is what I saw. The Summer Palace is where the emperor and his staff would go to get away from the heat from the inner city, from the Forbidden City. So this is where he would go to get away from the city. And they had this built. That lake and the mountain that this building you're looking at is built on was all man-made. This is a marble paddle wheel floating in the lake. That lake is about 4 foot deep. The only person that was allowed on there was the emperor, and the only person allowed to use Western utensils in the whole of China was the emperor. And he would eat his dinner on there using a knife, fork, and spoon on that marble paddle wheeler that you just saw. There's these walkways that cover everything, so you never have to be out in the elements. You're looking back over the lake. The pictures, each picture in each section, which is about, 10 meters, 10 feet, tell a story. And that's what the tour guide was stopping and describing what the story was for the particular picture that they were describing. He told, not all of them, because it was pretty long, but he told a couple of the stories as we went along. And he would stop and tell the story and then go along. I believe he was doing it in English. No, maybe not, because I wasn't paying any attention. He did a little bit in English because I know what he was doing, but I didn't know what the story was. As we enter, we go up these steps, and this is one of the entryways into the Summer Palace. You have to step over the threshold, and it's got the same patterns and paintings as the Forbidden City. It's a much smaller, so a lot less people would go there. So it's basically just the emperor and maybe his favorite ladies, his wife, one of his wives, a couple of his wives, small staff, and that's probably the housing there, kitchen staff, servants and stuff, and a few of the people. I'm really not sure what all was there, because they really didn't say, or I don't remember, because this was in 2014, August or September, late August 30th, 31st of 2014. I'm doing this, it's August 30th of 2025, so 11 years later. We're at the top of the building, and that's that's Beijing off in the distance. This was like a 2-hour bus drive, so that's really far away. I'm zoomed in. That's the lake, that's the tour boat. That was the temple that they would go to and pray first before they would enter the Summer Palace. They had a lot of walkways. You could probably go that whole area and never have to be out in the sun or out in the elements. It was all pretty much covered. I'm pretty sure there were buildings, parts of it that wasn't open, we weren't allowed into. That's why I don't remember a whole lot. That mountain there you see was all man-made, and that lake, the whole lake was all man-made. I think it was fed by a stream. After we left, this is the bus going back into Beijing. This is the restaurant famous for the Beijing roast duck, which we went in and ate. Roast duck, we went up, there was like the upstairs on one of the floors. The wife left me there. She left, went across the street to another store, bought some food and stuff, came back in so she didn't have to buy it. We just bought the duck at the duck restaurant. And she bought the rest of the stuff across the street and brought it in. I'm surprised they let her do that. That's where we get done eating. We're walking down the street. I tried to get the best video and stabilize it as much as I could, but this is Beijing at night. Walking down, and towards the end is the old Beijing marketplace. This is a weeknight, way before the pandemic of 2014, probably early September. I don't know why I turned the camera sideways. But I got some sideways footage there. I don't know if what was going on. I don't remember. But it is what it is. Kentucky Fried Chicken. And there's Starbucks. And there's McDonald's. There's the entranceway to the old Beijing market. As you can see, when we get there, it's pretty crowded. And this is not considered crowded in China. You notice all the stores, the doors are propped open and never closed. Shoe store there. Some of the places they put on the show to attract people to get them to buy stuff, usually vendors to sell food. They had like scorpions on the stick. I'm getting dizzy just looking at that. Whew. Scorpion on a stick. All kinds of odd stuff that the wife made me try. Well, it didn't taste too bad.